You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Sam, Mike and Don for episode, I'm not sure what episode it is, 17 or 18. What is it? 17. Thank you, Jack. And we weren't sure. We had a technical glitch with the Bolt report, and but apparently everything's all right now. Just sitting offside in the Loungel area is a... Loungel is a publisher who we can't mention his name because he's shy, Jeff Slattery. And he's over there and he's... keeping an eye on us about this, and I'll tell you what we might do with Jeff, and you could come this time with him. Don, you don't have to come if you don't want to. I don't know if you've ever been down to the Lobster Cave and
love it.
Bill. What? Pardon?
I love it.
Well, you better come.
You've never come.
No, I couldn't come last time, but I've been there before.
Bill has put a wetsuit on and some goggles, and he has swum into the middle of Bass Strait, and he's brought back some harpooka.
Any gropes? Gropers?
What is it called? Harpooka.
What about crabs?
He's got crabs, Bill.
Has he really?
My word, he has. Mate, he has got more crabs that you can poke a stick at, and that's what he has been doing with them. And Bill goes out. I saw him in a wetsuit, and he's out there spearing harpooka. Are they harpooka?
Yeah,
that's right.
And they're in Bass Strait.
Oh, black cod. And he's got black cods. Bill has, and he brings them all back. He puts them in a big bag, and he swims.
Why am I laughing at that?
And we'll take the author of the year, Times International Author of the Year, Jeff Slattery, and you, Mick. You can come down and have a look at Bill's crabs, his cods, and his magnificent harpooka.
Can we bring the groper, Don Scott, with us?
Bring the groper down, and I tell you who we're going to go down there with. We're going to go down there. I am going to invite Amanda Elliott down for both of you to have a crack at, and tell you who's going to sit and give us some light entertainment. Your very close and personal friend Rex Hunt. Rex is coming down. He is an official ambassador of the Lobster Cave.
Why don't we
Rex.
get Andrew Bolt to come down too, and they can both bash me up?
You got on right with Bolt. You had differences of opinion. This is the beauty of having a sensible debate about things you disagree on, and it was fantastic. And you were so good, Mick, and I do take exception to the fact I called you a disgrace.
You take exception to it. I take exception to it.
I was
you should withdraw it.
I let myself down. Now here. So could I just ask you this?
How long is this going to go for? Because I am tired.
What from?
Well, his lordship over here, before the show started, do you remember he said, come out here, out the back. Yeah. Do you know what I had to do out the back?
You didn't have to do anything.
Do you know, ask what?
Will you stop smacking me on the arm?
Well, you're not asking me the question, you're not leading me in.
Don.
Do I know what you had to do out the back? Well, I shudder to think what you had to do out the back.
Okay, well, I had to stand there while I watch him do 20 bicep curls.
Why are you tired?
Because then he said, you are going to do 20 bicep curls. I've been sick. I could only do 10.
How come Amanda didn't go for you when you dressed like that?
I didn't.
Don, could you speak into the microphone, you numbskull? Now, Don, this is disgraceful hyperbole. I took you out to the area out there where the little bicep.
The barbells are.
The hand weights are.
The dumbbells.
Because I said, we'll rehabilitate you, seeing as you've had parrot flu.
But I was all right.
And I said, I'll show you what to do. We do 20 of them. And I said, you do 20 and we'll do them every week until we get your strength back. What's wrong with that? I'm trying to look out for you.
And when you can look like you did in this 1996 publication, the Football Record Almanac, provided by one Jeff Slattery, that's got a cover story on Newman, from white boots to white hot television. Under that, Don Scott under the hammer.
Is that John there in that pic? Is that John?
Yeah, before the Botox, yeah.
Do you have Botox?
Speak into the microphone.
Well, do you have Botox? I'm asking a question.
My second name's Botox.
Because you look completely different there. You look normal.
You do.
Yeah, well, I'm confirming I have Botox, Don.
And it's dark hair too.
Yeah, and I'm confirming I tint my hair.
So what's real about
nothing? I'm an unreal person. Now listen to me. Listen to me. Before we get on to maybe Sean Smith, who is come out about concussion, and maybe the AFL, VFL of not. I want to just bring this up. This for your opinion on this. This is about Qantas. I don't know how Qantas are going. They're a great airline. I'm a Qantas member.
They've made a huge profit.
Well. So I think maybe will I? What's his name? Will.i.am. Will.i.am.
William.
No,
That's right.
Yeah,
well, Will.i.am got into a bit of a confrontation. Apparently, he had his earpods on and he was doing something on his computer, and it was a woman, or it doesn't matter that it was. Flight attendant, the hostie, came up and said, could you turn the computer off? And he didn't quite hear her, and she must have said it again because he said to her, just relax.
What were they? Not headphones?
Yeah, earpods, Don. Yes, I know where you're going with that. She said, do you want headphones? He said, how did you know my name was Phones? I know we've done all that. And he said to her, Don led me in, I know, beautifully done. And he said to her, just relax. She took exception to that. This is how it goes, hearsay. And so much so that they called the police. And when honestly, do you think if he did say, just relax, and maybe said, hey, hang on, Dale, just relax, she could have said, yeah, I will relax if you'll turn. Couldn't if it have been done better? And then...
By whom?
By the staff on the plane.
Were they at fault?
Well, I'm bringing this up for conversation. How would you call the police to meet the plane? How would you call the police to meet the plane because Will.i.am had said something to the hostess or the in-flight attendant?
Do we know what he said?
I think he said, it was reported, just relax. I'm going to take the turn.
Do you seriously think a flight attendant would call the police?
That's exactly my question to you. And then there was a guitarist from, I can't think of his name, but there was a guitarist travelling on the same flight who wanted to check his guitar into the overhead locker. You would want to, if it's a $20,000 guitar, you wouldn't want to check it into the luggage. You can carry plenty of things on if it's hand luggage. They wouldn't let him take the guitar and hang it in
It shouldn't have been put. It should have been put in the luggage, shouldn't it?
No, you couldn't
That's
do
what
it,
I'm just
Michael.
saying
You couldn't
to you,
do it.
Mick. You wouldn't want to put a $20,000 guitar into the luggage storage. You could carry it on as hand luggage and put it in the overhead compartment, couldn't you? So that's Qantas. And then here's the other thing. A Qantas plane was diverted from Australia to New Zealand because it was diverted to an Air Force base in New Zealand.
It was going to Wellington.
It was diverted to it because they had some engine trouble.
Yeah.
And they had the passengers stay on the plane at the Air Force Base for 4 hours. Now, my question is, if Alan Joyce was over on his honeymoon with his husband and he was asked, they'd gone over...
I knew you wanted to just raise this, didn't you?
Well, Al, if Mr. and Mr. Joyce were on their honeymoon on the plane, do you reckon Mr. and Mr. Joyce would have actually sat on the plane for 4 hours? I reckon one of them, who ever says they're Mr. Joyce, would have said... I think we'll get off. We'll stand around the plane. We don't have to actually sit in it for 4 hours. We'll stand around it. You can cordon us off if it... What?
They wouldn't have been able to get off.
Well, how about how do they get off the Air Force planes when it was in an Air Force...
Well, we can't have a bloke from the outer just screaming questions.
Well, how about we send over a travel lift or a fork... Get people off the plane so they could stand beside the plane. They could go down these slides, just pretend it was in the water or something. Fair dinkum. I don't think...
You've raised this only because you wanted to talk about Mr. and Mrs.
That's exactly right.
Mr. and Mr. Joyce, didn't
If you were on your honeymoon with your spouse, man, woman or beast, would it matter? Would it matter if you got off the plane? So I think Qantas need to just sharpen up a fraction. I'm a frequent flyer member and I love Qantas.
Yep.
I do indeed love it.
What about more of a serious matter? What about the Cranbourne Council? Have you read what has gone on out there?
Is that on the front page of the paper today?
The short answer is no.
Well, this is about you. It's Sam's Pyramid Scheme. On the front page.
What is it, Don?
Sam and Pyramid. You remember them?
What is that?
We haven't got television. We're on radio.
No, it's just showing
Is that
him.
me?
No, it's not you.
It's not me.
No, it's not.
Oh, fuck. I thought, shit.
I know you can get in the paper just by breathing, but it doesn't happen to be you.
Sammy, so what's happened
just
to
be
Cranbourne?
quiet, listen.
This is a former mayor who pocketed $900,000 from property developers has bolted to Egypt amid an explosive anti-corruption probe, blah, blah, blah. Now, one of the people mentioning this in the fourth paragraph is a former teammate of yours, Donald. Another councillor, former Hawthorn footballer and Liberal Party candidate Jeff Ablett. Another former mayor of Casey is alleged to have received $330,000 from payments from developers.
Yep, that was mentioned last year about those two people. Yep. So that's an ongoing investigation.
Well, one has fled the country. It seems that one has fled the country.
We got extradition from Egypt, Cairo, Morassa. Who's the head of who's the Prime Minister or the President of Egypt?
Farouk Engineer or something, isn't it?
Farouk Engineer. Fatty Boomba. Jesus.
It was Farouk someone.
But doesn't this bring up an issue? In all seriousness, we're making light work of this. Now, these guys get paid. Oh, he's not even interested. What's the point?
Of course, I'm trying to get some information. Go ahead, John.
These guys, these councillors are getting paid. Thanks, Jack. They are getting paid, yet they've got to receive things along this line. What's gone wrong with it? It's just the world is just greed. It's greed, isn't it? The money.
It seems to be the underlying cause.
What did we say? From day one with the beast, we said this. The world is corrupt and everything revolves around corruption.
Talking about greed, what about Prince Andrew?
Well, greed in what way?
Well, lust.
Well, lust is a different word to greed. It's one of the 7 deadly sins, greed and lust.
Well, there are 2 of them.
Gluttony, jealousy.
Yeah. Sam.
Yeah, you were correct about the president of Greece, of Egypt. It's Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Sisi?
Correct.
Sisi.
I got one letter right.
Sorry,
Prince
Donald.
Andrew.
Yeah.
And I said there's greed there too, isn't there? Lust.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you think he went on the clips that we've seen of his interview with the BBC?
I hate to say it, but it's a bit like Hunter Biden, who, when he was interviewed about his corruptness or lack of it, had some shocking answers, was pathetic. And so was Prince Andrew.
Could I ask, why would he do the interview? Why would you do an interview?
Well, his media officer was either sacked or walked over the decision to do the interview.
I agree with the previous interpretation.
Andrew
Well, I wasn't sure if this was on before us or not. With Bolt, who said, "Wouldn't you think if you were going to do an interview, you would be prepped for an answer to a specific question?"
But he would have been prepped. I mean, that's a given. But he just
So it was scripted. The interview was scripted.
No, but he would have been prepped about the questions that would have
potential
come.
questions.
Yeah.
And why haven't they honed in on Clinton?
Well, forget that for 1 sec.
Why?
Stay with Prince Andrew.
Okay.
That's the best excuse I've ever heard for a bloke getting into trouble, that he can't sweat.
The other thing, the
evidence can't be right because I can't sweat. Did you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
The girl said he was sweating heavily.
Yep.
He says, couldn't have been me.
It's a bit like O.J. Simpson, isn't it? The glove wouldn't fit because he crippled his hands up into so that you couldn't put anything on. Wouldn't matter what you'd had. He deliberately bent his fingers, and they said, "I can't fit that glove on."
How do you think Lizzie would have handled all this, Don?
Well, I don't
back in the palace.
That's her favourite son, apparently. But I can't understand why the young ladies would contribute or stay around for so long. Now, is there
kids.
something? But Michael, as a kid, you might still make a decision. You know what's right or wrong. Now, why would they stay there, or she stayed there for a number of years?
You've got a bloke like Sam, loosely speaking, but a famous, good-looking man with lots of money.
Be careful, Mick, please.
And he's running the joint, and he's seducing these kids into doing what he did.
A bloke like Sam. That's like you said, Andrew Bolt, your namesake, Andrew Prince. What do you mean a bloke like Sam who's running things with kids? Mick, please, that's a disgrace to say that. What the hell are you talking about?
I owe you a disgrace.
That's a bloke like Sam running a hostel.
But why? Get back and answer the question. Why would the ladies hang around?
Well,
they're girls.
You know what? Because
why?
Because they think they're going to be stars. They probably plied with
drugs. Why come out now?
They're probably plied with drugs. They're probably not in a fit state of mind. They're opportunists Or the
They
people
are now. They are now.
They've
Why
been
are they now?
exploited.
Well, because he said they were taking advantage of what they were getting back then. They had the opportunity to walk, surely.
But you're
They're
not
big
talking
babies.
about rational people in this world. Everyone's not rational. They do things for a whole lot of
So
different
you're
reasons.
blaming the girls, are
No,
you?
I'm asking the question.
Well, with the heavy implication that the girls are at fault.
Yeah, you
Well,
got
they could have
14 and
walked. They
15-year-old
knew,
girls
they knew
being run by
exactly
a
what was
billionaire.
going. It wasn't as if she was running away from him when they had their photograph
No,
together.
but she was 17.
Fourth,
Doesn't
fifth,
matter.
16. It's
It
extraordinary.
doesn't matter.
No, she knew what she was doing.
But they're immature, pubescent children, really, Don,
No
who
excuse.
have got can't believe where they are or what's happening to them, and probably been spiked their drinks with. Who knows?
So you believe now?
Oh yeah, when I'm running one of these things, that's what I do. Is it, Mick?
Do you believe the popular view is that Prince Andrew was with the girl who's now a woman, who's now a mother and lives in Australia?
I believe that he was having.
Yes.
I believe that he and Clinton and a whole lot of other people were doing
So
exactly
how can,
that.
how
Or
can
why
he stand
would you-
there and see that photo of his arm around this girl and
But that-
say, I've got no idea who she is?
Well, but no, that's fair. No, I can. That's fair enough.
Really?
Mick? That's fair enough. I was at the boxing the other day and had my arm around someone's shoulders.
But you weren't intimate with them.
He is saying he wasn't intimate with them. You have your photo taken with plenty of people, and you put your arm around them, men and women, and you have no idea who they are. They say, "Can I have a photo taken?" I mean, I'm not cutting him any slack.
Yes, you are.
Well, just because he's got his arm around a girl doesn't mean to say he's been in bed with her, does it?
No, it doesn't.
And so it's a tawdry affair.
So who do you believe?
I believe them, the girl.
You do.
I do, Mick, but I do. But why aren't they honing in on Clinton?
Well, but that's Clinton's not central to this current issue.
Oh my word!
No,
he was the president of the United
No, but
States, mate.
Well, that's for another time. But
Is it?
We're dealing with this is an interview that was on last Saturday, done by the BBC.
Yep.
It just defies logic as to why he would go on and subject himself
Because
that.
he was thought he might extricate himself from the rumour, and this is what we say, he was ill prepared for it. And the ABC, not our ABC, the American ABC in America, they suppressed the story, said they didn't have enough information on it. This is after Brett Kavanaugh was accused, in the Supreme Court nomination of Trump's, was accused of being a gang raper and organising orgies, which was by that Julie Swetnick, who was an congenital liar. And this is how it goes. It's extraordinary.
Okay.
Now, so can I ask you this, Don? Go ahead.
Well, could I ask you one question?
Of course you can, Don.
Thank you.
It's your show.
Being a very competitive sportsman yourself in your day, would you have taken advantage of somebody that had a mental problem? Hence, if we the two cricketers that have now come out, Maxwell and
a mental problem?
well, they said that they've got a problem. Would
Yes.
you have taken advantage of them on the football field?
My word.
Thank you.
What would you have said? Well, how could he take advantage other
Yes.
than verbally?
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You would sledge them.
My word.
I would.
About their condition?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you?
I tell you what, race or gender are out.
Yes.
Other than that,
But they weren't when you two played.
no.
They were
I
out.
think
No.
race was always probably.
race
no,
always
probably
was.
wasn't.
No,
No,
race
probably
wasn't.
wasn't. No, probably
It
wasn't.
was.
In the 60s, it probably
Actually,
wasn't.
I was accused of racism
What'd you say?
What did you say?
by, and I'll tell you now, Bill Dempsey.
Oh, yeah?
Well, what
The
did
West
you say?
Australian,
You're-
yeah?
Yeah, Western Australia. He
What
was
did you say
captain
to
of
him?
West Perth. I said absolutely nothing.
No,
he
but
got
you-
he got a rise out of me in the social function afterwards for being racist.
So as long as you didn't mention the colour of his skin.
I did not
No,
talk.
I'm agreeing with you, Don. As long as you didn't mention the colour of his skin by calling him a black something or whatever, I think anything goes. I'm probably a bit of a Luddite and a bit of a. I think anything goes on a sporting arena, as long as it's not gender related or racist.
Oh, gender related is all right, but race, no, I draw the line there.
But it's not all right now, Donald, to call someone to call someone a queer or a queen or a poofter or it's not all right.
No, it isn't.
But other than that, I reckon the sky's the limit.
So you don't. If in fact, as we now know with Pachowski and Maddinson and Maxwell, you still think it's okay?
Give me the specific example, and I'll tell you.
Well, they're the three players who are not playing because of their mental health.
Yes.
So you'd be prepared to allude to that problem
If they came back on the arena, my word, I would.
Would you? What would you say? What, your cuckoo or your crackers?
Well,
or
whatever.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to reach the top anyway because of that. Now, everyone that does reach the top in the sporting field is very, very strong mentally.
So if I did say that, Mick, here's the problem. Or not the problem, here's the conundrum. You might be taken to a civil court for discrimination, for hate speech, for antisocial behaviour. That would probably be the outcome by activists and people who act on their behalf.
But I'm appealing to your sense of morality. I mean, it wouldn't trouble you to think that you would attack them on that front.
If I was playing billiards with them, or I was playing snooker, or I was playing even tennis, if I was playing a virile, brutal game of competitive sport, and I'd run into someone, or I was standing opposite them at a bounce down, or about to have a physical clash with them, I'd say, mate, don't get too involved. It might be a bit, don't let a butterfly land on your brain. You might get concussion out of it. Just settle down.
Wow.
I would say all that. I would say all that to someone.
Would you?
Well, I accused it. Well, I did know. Somebody confided in me, and I used it on the football field to get under this.
Someone confided about a problem issue?
A problem. He was
marital.
It was.
Oh, and you said you'd.
No. He was very violent towards his wife.
Oh,
and she confided in a lady I was taking out at the time, and I used it.
You said
to get
wife
under
beater.
his skin. Nobody, and it was between you. I didn't mention to anyone else. It was between he and myself.
Did you say you're a wife beater?
Oh, anything I could. All of that.
Yeah. It's
Just
all
too
right,
upsetting.
Mick. Would you ever have a go at anyone? You've have a go at me at the drop of a titfer. You have a go at me.
Not on what grounds?
Oh, that's a joke, Mick.
Oh, is it? Okay, fair enough.
And
Right.
can I canvass this with you? Can I canvass this with you? Don't worry about the producer there.
The bloke heckling from Bay 31.
If we dipped a toe in the water and we got Rex back, could we have round two? Because I think you would like to address some of the things, and you'd like to actually be a bit more pointed with Rex, because to withdraw because he said he
What do you
didn't
mean
like.
withdraw?
Well, you wanted to leave.
I had an appointment.
Why don't we go down to Bill Ferg's Lobster Cave and have a... What did we have? We'd have an eel or a...
Have I upset Rex? He hasn't rung me for a number of weeks.
No, that's
upset
because you're
everyone,
always
John.
on the phone.
What do you mean?
You make 100 calls a day, I reckon.
But Rex was ringing me up till 3 or 4 weeks ago. Why isn't he ringing me now?
I don't know.
Well, because he's dropped off.
Hey, can I change this and get...
You can, certainly, Mick, but just while we're on the mental problems, what do you make of Sean Smith, who says... Now, I'm not dismissing this. He says he was knocked out 14 times in his 109-game career. He was knocked out every 7 games.
Yeah.
Could that possibly happen? And how would he get
being
picked?
I did interview him.
Did you?
18 months ago on Open
Wow.
Mic and talked about that problem.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Isn't it just like someone who's predisposed to hamstring problems? Isn't it? I mean,
7 times, Michael.
No. Lots of people do a hamstring, come back, do it again. Sometimes
That's through exertion. That's because you spring off the mark and do a hamstring.
But he's predisposed to damage to his brain, is he not? Like
he's got to be smacked.
like Paddy McCartan at St Kilda.
But he's got to be hit.
Well, but you have it in contests. I mean, in marking contests.
I see. Well, how did he get clearance from the
he shouldn't have.
OH&S people?
He shouldn't have.
Well, now he's suing.
Look, I feel sorry for Sean.
Of course we feel sorry for him.
He's got behavioural issues and social issues because of all the knocks he took playing football. So he probably shouldn't have been allowed to play after the first 2 or 3
That's
times.
my point. Now, if you were going to bring something up,
I am.
Well, all right then.
Well, I want this is as they say these days, in your wheelhouse.
What?
I watched Ford.
It's relevant to me.
Ford versus Ferrari Saturday night.
Yes.
I don't know where the rave reviews are coming from. Didn't do much for me.
Well, because critics, they've never built a monument to a critic ever.
No, true.
It's a subjective opinion. You didn't like it. I've heard it was great. I've heard the rivalry between Henry Ford's company and Enzo Ferrari's company was manifold.
Manifold.
Well, I think that's in a
part
car.
of a car.
It's in but it is manifold. I think is the
Manifest, is it?
word. I think manifold.
It was
Probably
It was Sir
manifest.
Chester Manifold. He was
Anyhow-
a great racing man.
And
That's the funniest thing Don said.
anyhow, I've heard it is good. You wish to
I thought
defer.
it lacked credibility on several fronts.
Which were?
Well, he's driving along at one of the racetracks, Daytona or
Yes, on the beach.
the place in France. Where is it?
Magnicor.
No, where they have the 24-hour race.
Yeah, Le Mans.
And he's driving along, and his door won't close. Now,
Yep.
how can you drive at 150 miles an hour with your door continually opening?
Well, but it obviously came loose, the latch, and he tried to shut it while he was driving.
He's driving this lap, shutting it, opening it,
150. I could drive a car at 150 and open the door.
with the door
Well,
flapping.
if it flapped open, I'd try and shut it.
It was. Look, I didn't think.
That's a very lame.
Okay.
Very lame.
I thought Matt Damon was good. The bloke, Christopher Bale, played the
Yes,
driver.
he's good too.
He's good, but he had a Pommy accent. Why wouldn't you get an English bloke?
All right.
What is he talking about?
He is English.
Is
Christopher
Christopher Bale
Bale,
English,
yeah.
is he? Okay, perfect appointment for the job. Is
Can
he
I
really?
ask you about your dress today, Michael?
Yeah, well, this is not a
coming
visual
from you.
medium, Don.
But I could ask
Coming
him
from
why,
you. I
why
thought it was
are
going to
you-
be 32 today, but apparently
Is that why you dress like John, or is that a form of flattery imitation?
You're in the camel undertones there, Don.
fancy taking fashion advice from this bloke.
From the Brotherhood house model for the Brotherhood of St. Lawrence.
So
Now-
the movie, you're going will you watch it?
Well, you've turned me off it a little. I probably will. But can I say this about Ferrari? A, they build the most overrated cars in the world. And B, they are the most dysfunctional sports organisation in the world. They call their cars in F1 at the wrong time. Their changing of the tyres, the wheels, their mechanics are shocking. Their people that run the team are hopeless. They are Italian numbskulls, and for the great brand that Ferrari actually produced, they are a disgrace. Their two drivers, Leclerc and
He'd be French, wouldn't he?
the German driver, Vettel, they collided yesterday in the race in Brazil because they're trying to beat each other. Wouldn't you think they'd get on the radio and say, boys, see if we can finish without actually having a crash?
We were talking about the film and reviewers,
Yep.
and you said there's never been a statue to anyone who
Is a critic.
as a critic. Do you remember the discussion you had about Bill Collins, the film critic?
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's the Bill. I'll just tell you this very quickly. I was filling in on breakfast radio with Greg Evans, Don, and we asked. There's a film called The Unforgiven, and
Clint Eastwood.
that's correct. And we thought we would get an interview with Bill Collins, the movie critic from Channel 10. You know, Bill Collins. And we said to the young producer, or Greg did, could you get Bill Collins on the phone? And she rang up Bill Collins and she signalled through the petition to Greg that Bill Collins is on the line. And Greg said, well, look, we're very lucky because we've got a critic now to give us just a review on the very, very good film called The Unforgiven. We've got Bill Collins. Bill, lovely to have you on. What did you think of the film? And Bill said, well, as a matter of fact, I haven't seen it. And Greg said, that surprises me, Bill, that you would be asked surely for a review on the film because well, that's your job. He said, well, I might get along to see it. I might take the wife along one day. And I suddenly twigged. I'm sitting there looking at Greg and I can see the girl in the background. She's gone red. And I said, I mouthed to Greg Evans, this is the racing Bill Collins. and Greg went, Greg suddenly twigged, and Greg, honestly, this is on, you can YouTube it. Greg said, Bill, I'm real. And Bill thought we're taking the piss out of him. He got really annoyed. He said, yeah. He said, go ahead. And Greg said, Bill, I am so sorry. And he threw his head back and actually fell off the back of the chair. And I'm sitting there and I said, Greg's just fallen off the chair. Bill, I'm really sorry about this. I know you think we're taking the mickey out of you, but we're not. Yes, he said, all right. He said, anything else? I said, no, Bill, we'll wind it up there. And honestly, it was the most embarrassing. Greg Evans, who prides himself on being absolutely straight and not taking the piss out of anyone, unlike myself.
Okay, right.
Very funny it was, and they often play it. And when Bill Collins died, the movie Bill Collins...
Which one?
The movie Bill Collins died a couple of 6 months ago. 6 months ago. It was replayed everywhere it was. So, can I just mention something about bushfires?
Bill Collins to bushfires.
Well, okay. You got to segue into anything else? This
Yes.
is topics that I want to mention with you two boys. Now, Don, half of Australia is on fire as we speak in the northern. What is the point? Now, I know this will take, we'll get a nice building from... what is the point of people getting into fire trucks with knapsacks? And, 100 gallons of water in the truck. And, 1,000 gallons of water in the truck, and having helicopters fly over with all this retardant when the whole of a hillside or a whole of a state is on fire. They did a survey in the Yellowstone National Park in America some 20 years ago when it caught on fire. And of all the resources they threw at the bushfire in the Yellowstone, they did a survey and they said the bushfire went out not 1 minute before it would have naturally. When it catches on fire, stand back and let it burn itself out. You cannot stop a hillside from catching fire.
But you can protect houses.
So what's your
though.
point?
You cannot
What's your
protect
point?
houses.
Yes, you do, because
well,
they
they've
have
burnt
put-
200
Hey,
of them.
Michael, in the Gippsland fires last year, and this is, I was told this, the CFA, well, I had to butt in. Or that's the only reason I can get your attention is to hold your arm. So the CFA came around in their trucks and they just took off. They said, we're not even helping you. The fires are coming. We can't help you. And off
It's
they
a
went.
virtue signaling thing, and they mean well, and I give them great credit for putting their lives on the line. It is futile with a knapsack and a hose trying to put
they're
out a
not
mountain.
Could I ask another question? Why are there so many fires starting in New South Wales? Is it that they are deliberately lit?
Climate change,
No,
mate.
no. Is it because they're deliberately lit
That's
and
one.
they do not want to emphasise that? It's like people who commit suicide. They never report on the number of suicides. Is it because of that factor? And what you're doing is giving publicity to pyromaniacs, and there would be more fires if they highlighted that.
That's one of the reasons, and the other reason they give is that the greenies have stopped clearing dead forest and dead wood from the...
And
Forest
live
for-
trees, if you're going to include all the things, yeah.
well, they don't clear
No,
live
Michael,
trees
in
unless they're logging
Australia,
There
them.
won't be a tree in Australia in
Michael,
20 years'
Well,
time.
you
In
heard
Aus-
Bolt say it was greener than it's ever been, the planet.
In Australia, the eucalypts regenerate through extreme heat, and every eucalypt will
Pity
come
you weren't
back
the
up
same, Don.
after a fire. So that's how Australia works.
Okay.
And the Aboriginal people would farm 7 different areas. They'd farm one area, then they'd burn it. They'd go to the next farm it, burn it. In the 7-year cycle, they'd come back to the original one, and that's where all the animals, trees, and whatever else were there, so they could sustain their lives.
Let's stay with you, Donald, while you're on fire. Matthew Lappin said this on Twitter, which I'm no longer a party to, last night. Matthew Lappin, the former Carlton player.
Yes, we know, Mick.
It's madness that AFL players are back in training 4 months before round 1.
Couldn't agree more.
I am totally in accord with that.
So am I.
So are you, Johnny. What about you?
So-
Donald?
No, you start, you give yourself 4 to 6 weeks off at the end of the season since your last game. If it was
Yeah.
a
Yes.
grand final,
Yeah.
4 to 6 weeks, then you start again. And you start
That's what he said.
That's what I just, 4 months
Do you
before
think it's a good idea?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because you got to get yourself fit, conditioned, and whatever else.
I just took you out the back and said, do
Johnny,
20
you've
curls,
got-
bicep curls, and you said, I'm not doing it.
What's that got to do with AFL football?
I was trying to get you up and about.
He's actually retired, Sam. Don, he's 72.
So I was trying to get you fit.
So seriously, Don, you think 4 months before your
Yes,
next engagement?
yes, my word.
Wow.
Well, you can work on your sprinting, your speed, your
I'll tell you what
strength, and your skill in that time, Michael.
You talk about mental health. I'll tell you, that would drive you mad.
What?
Doing 4 months of
I
training.
did it every year.
Well, I rest my case. Sammy,
Yep,
did you hear that?
I did.
He said it would drive him mad.
Tell me what you think about this. This is. Tell me what you think about this.
What's wrong with that bloke over there? He thinks it's
the
a
author
total,
of the year?
Yeah, he thinks it's a total waste of time.
Publisher of the year.
Yeah.
I went and saw Gallen and Hall.
Hall.
Do you know Triple M wouldn't interview Barry Hall on their station because of his adverse comments he made about
When they sacked him.
yeah. And they thought they'd be giving credence to Barry's outrageous comments. They wouldn't interview him about the fight. They put an embargo or a ban on
Is that
interviewing him. That's what I'm told.
Did they interview Gallen?
Well, I don't think they did.
That was,
Oh, well, they're consistent.
Well, hang on. Gallen's from New South Wales and a
But
they
at
made
least
it-
they're consistent. They didn't
no,
do
no,
it.
but
give up-
he said they made a decision about Hall.
Yes, because he's an NRL man. He was in Sydney, but then maybe they'd like a bit of topical discussion with an ex-AFL man, and they wouldn't do it because
Well, can
of
I
his
ask Jack
comments.
to nod or which one way or the other? Jack, as a woman, would you have been offended to hear Barry Hall interviewed on radio? No, she says no.
no, it's been done. And he's been
And he's
been
paid the price?
Paid the price,
Yeah.
and he made an error because it was live radio, and if he thought about it,
And he had to be fair to him, he had about 6 accomplices that day.
exactly my
And
point.
just looking at Barry Hall, he's in fine form, isn't he? For a man, what
44, yeah.
He's not on. He's not on a little bit of stimulus, is he? But that
Steroids,
muscle.
you reckon?
Well, steroids. Did you see the muscle definition?
Well,
For
Madonna,
40
if you went out and did some bicep curls out there where I took you just before, you would have muscles too.
A
I'm
little
trying to
bit
get your muscle tone back.
A little bit of stimulus.
A little bit of stimulus.
he was well cut.
It was a brutal fight. I was there. And,
Did it justify all the...
It probably did. It was 6 2-minute rounds.
Yeah.
If they'd gone an extra minute around, you would have to get a micro ambulance
That's
to actually drag them out of the ring.
That spawned the best nickname of the year, the 2-minute rounds. Gallen called Hall Noodles. It deserved better than that.
The rort at the court. That was my term. Not bad, is it? The rort at the court. Margaret Court Stadium.
Oh, yeah?
The rort at the
Oh,
court.
the RORT.
Yeah.
Was that a curtain raiser to another event?
Yeah, it was a curtain raiser to a title fight between a young boy called Maloney.
Oh, was it? Was it
Yeah.
true?
Yeah, no, it
It
was.
was a curtain raiser.
Yeah, it was. The twins fought, the 2 Maloney boys.
Okay.
Now, I've got anything else that you'd like to speak about before we wind this up? Because this was part 3. Anything else?
No, we've done well.
All right. Well, now we go down to Bill's. We go
Listen,
down
can we
to
get
Lobster Cave.
Where are you going today?
I'm going down to the Lobster Cave with the
Oh, yeah?
with the publisher of the year.
I thought you were
Yep.
going to Geelong.
Well,
I thought-
if you ever
What?
thought, if you ever eaten oysters, who would be the first
Why would he
person?
be going to Geelong?
Who would
are
be
you going to Geelong?
Pardon?
Are you going to
You're
Geelong?
Going near Geelong.
What?
Yeah,
What, the old school?
near the old school, Don.
You're going to
going
walk
back to-
around?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going
Oh,
back
so
to...
is this just it's just a feeble attempt to put me on the spot as to where
You
we're
can
going?
back to the
is it, Don?
school with a capital S.
Yes,
is that right?
school, going down to school. Can I ask you about
What for?
if you ever,
Yes.
when you go down
What?
when you go down to Bill's,
Why?
when you go down what
Why?
when you go down
Why are you going to Geelong with Jeff Slattery?
because Jeff has never been to Geelong Grammar and he wants to have a look at where he might send his
He's
grandkids.
73. and
His
so-
grandkids. Have you when you go down to the Lobster Cave and Bill
Is he gonna
brings
write a
out
book?
Bill
Is he
brings-
gonna be a book?
Bill brings out a dozen oysters.
should bring-
You
you should do a
should
book.
do a
I
book.
want to ask
Are
you-
you going to do a book? What is it about?
It's like
Johnny, My Life by Johnny.
like Mork and Mindy here. I want you to look at this, Don. Be objective. When Bill brings out
That's
some
what the
natural
crabs-
oysters, look at it and think, who was the first person that thought, shit, that'd be good to eat? That,
What?
heap of slime and snot in a shell,
Yeah.
who would put that into their mouth?
What an oyster.
Who decided, I'll eat an oyster? It's a bit like, do you know how to stop a dog attacking you? Now, you'll think this is really risque, but it's not. To stop a dog attacking someone, if you stick your finger up its backside into its rectum, that pacifies us. I want to know who first thought
Well,
of
the
that.
Aboriginal
who
people,
first
John-
thought of sticking their finger up a dog's bum?
I
for
thought
any
we were talking
reason.
about shellfish.
What?
I was going to give you an answer to the shellfish.
Go ahead, Don.
Aboriginals.
Decided they'd eat oysters.
They did shellfish, and there is a midden down at Mornington. They used to camp near where I live, which was a dry area, and from there they would go down to Mornington.
No.
They would catch the shellfish, and there is a midden. A midden is the shells that are left over after they're
to
finished.
look at it and think, why would you eat that piece of snot? Who would put that
Well,
in there?
ask them.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll give him a call. Well, look, this is the third inst of Sam, Mike and Don. It's been Don. It's been great. And Mick, you've been...
Don't be
You've been
patronising.
here.